When I was growing up in the 1980s in primary school, every break time when we weren't playing football, we had these card games called Top Trumps. I don't know if any of you remember them, but they are back. And I saw them in the shop and I couldn't resist buying a couple of sets for my son. And every so often we play them. I'm not sure how they compare to Mario Kart or some of the other games on his Switch, but we enjoy playing them. And I remember at some point when I suppose we couldn't afford to buy lots of Top Trumps games, I decided to make my own. And my mum, for whatever reason, used to store the cardboard from the cereal boxes when we were finished them. So I created my own Top Trumps cards from breakfast cereal, cardboard, and markers and things like that. These days, we don't need cardboard. We've got printers and we've got laminators, and we also have AI. And because of that, I think I'm going to show you how you can make your own Top Trumps card using AI without knowing a single line of code. I'm going to be using ChatGPT. The only other thing you'll need is somewhere to store your code. I use Visual Code Studio, but you can use Notepad if you've got Windows, or TextEdit, I imagine, would probably work on a Mac. Or there's plenty of online tools out there where you can generate code and so on. This is designed for anyone who doesn't know how to code, but we'll be using very basic code here. It'll just be HTML, some CSS, and probably some JavaScript, but you won't need to recognize what it is. But if you do, it'll probably help you with some of the edits. I am going to start off by describing what exactly I want to make. I think when it comes to ChatGPT particularly, now you can use anything from Claude to Perplexity, but I just use ChatGPT here. I'm using ChatGPT, the O3 Mini. The series apparently is very good for coding. I'm not sure if you can get that for the free version, but I imagine the free version of ChatGPT will do this for you. Before I begin, just to let you know, you can find this as a course, an online course, completely free. There's no signing up or anything like that. You can just, if you prefer to follow along by text, this video in a way is a follow on coding series for the course, so you can watch me as I try and generate these Top Trumps cards with all the problems that come with it. I found with ChatGPT, a lot of what you're doing is you're constantly re-prompting. You're saying, this didn't work, so I'd like you to do this. And we'll see that as we go along. And I think that's normal. That's the sort of thing that happens in programming anyway. I remember when I was in college that I had to recreate the game of life. I don't know if any of you remember that. And I spent 3 days changing my code and retrying it and changing it again and retrying for days and days until I found the problem that existed, which happened to be a semicolon. With AI, AI will be looking for those errors, so you won't have to find that stray semicolon, but you will have to keep prompting it to keep looking back and telling it what's going wrong, and it will regenerate. So without further ado, we need to get going. And the first thing we have to remember with ChatGPT is that you have to be quite specific about what you really want to get from this. So you can't just, you could write, I want to code a Top Trumps game. But the problem with doing that is you don't get control over what language it uses. You don't get to, it possibly will decide for itself what kind of Top Trumps game. It could generate dinosaurs or cars or something like that. So you need to let them know what you want. And it can do all sorts of things that you may not really wish to see. Or it doesn't even tell you how many cards it's going to generate. So you have to be very specific in what you want and how you want it to look and so on. And the prompt I've chosen is, I want to create a Top Trumps card game generator. I want to pick a topic or theme. Then I want to get you to pick 4 categories. So I'm going to let AI decide which 4 categories, very risky. I'm going to score each category and then generate an image for each card. In my Top Trumps game, we're going to have 36 cards. I don't know if that's the same as the real or the official Top Trumps. They should be printable with 8 cards on an A4 sheet, which will leave 4 spare cards for it, as the total number of cards is going to be 40. So that's 8 cards on 5 sheets. One of the spare cards, that's number 37, can be used as a cover image. So I want a cover card. One spare can be used to display the rules of the game for 2 or 3 or 4 players. That's number 38. Another spare card might be a general blurb about the theme with some facts. And sure, I'd like to create this using ChatGPT. To print, we might need some HTML and CSS. So I've said the language I want to use. Now that's optional. If you're not too fussy, you don't need to choose the language. I find HTML and CSS is the easiest one to do. I actually generated this in Python, despite having never written a single bit of code in the language. I suppose what I'm going to do is just click that into ChatGPT and see what it comes up with. So as you can see, it is generating and creating it. It's telling us what it's doing and how it's going to structure it. So at the moment it's doing this reasoning that ChatGPT does now. Before it would have just printed out a load of stuff. So it's thinking away in the background, and let's see what it's going to do. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's generating one to let me specify the theme. So it's giving me the idea of animals, and it automatically picks 4 categories, 36 cards plus 4 extra cards. Cards are arranged so when they're printed, blah, blah, blah. So it's basically said what it wants. And what it's done is it's generated all the code that I need. So what you can see is it's generated all the code that I need, but that isn't really what I was looking for. What I wanted it to do was to actually, for ChatGPT to ask me what theme I wanted, then suggest some categories, then maybe generate the cards and the images and so on. What I'm going to do is this is where the prompting happens, because I don't think we're ready to get the code. Just what it would do, by the way, if you wanted to see the code in action, this is what it would look like. It was asking me to generate the theme. Let's say it was animals, and look, that isn't really what I'm looking for. It's missing the name of the animal. It's given random scores. It doesn't even have names of categories and things like that. So we really need to start getting specific there. As much as I like the idea of going on the website and typing it in, I wanted to ask me lots of questions. I tell them the problem and what's gone wrong, and then tell them what I want them to do. So I'm just going to say you've already generated the code, but you haven't asked me the theme, suggested categories, or generated any images. I need you to ask me these questions before generating any code. So that's what I've just set it to. Now, again, there's no right or wrong way to say this. The English language is quite nuanced. So I'm just going to see what they have to say. So it's again reasoning away, thinking about what it's going to do. So it's saying what it's going to do. I'll start by asking, then I should ask. So here we go. So before generating a code, could you please clarify a few points? So it's asked me a few questions. So let's go with that. So I'm going to say, I'm going to choose the theme. I'm going to choose the theme, and I think I may as well go with animals, seeing as that was what was suggested. Okay, so it already has come back to suggest some categories. Would you like to use these categories? Speed, strength, intelligence, and agility. So I'm going to say I like speed, strength, intelligence, but I'd like something different to agility. So let's see what it comes up with. Stealth, endurance. Joe, I'm going to suggest one instead. I'm going to suggest my own one. And let's go with something a bit silly. And that's cuteness. Great. So we've got our thing. So do we need the images? We also have to generate the animals. So before we do anything else, we need to generate the animals. So next step is to generate the animals. Then it's 36 animals. The 36 animals are going to use. And what I'm going to do is please only pick animals that are found in Ireland. So you can see so far, we're just slowly but surely building this up. So again, it's reasoning, it's identifying some animals, and it's going to do that. So it's thinking away. So loads of different things here. So we've got a red fox, an Irish hare, badger. So it's still thinking away. And there we go. So all of those animals, I'm going to say those animals work for me. Yeah, those animals work for me. Now we need to score each one under the categories. So we're still building all this up nicely here. So here we go. Okay, so it's produced a table here, which is very nice, and it's got all the scores. Now what I can do is I can change the scores if I want to. I mean, I'm not quite sure if a common blackbird has a rating of 70 of cuteness compared to or a fox compared to a hare. I don't know if these are fairly random things. So you could, and I might do this because they do look a little bit strange to me. So they seem like very random scores. Can you give scores that are based on, or that are realistic? So we'll see what happens. So again, it's thinking. You see how we're reviewing what it offers and asking you to try again. We're saying what's going wrong and what's going right. Again, I'm not quite sure. I am maybe, well, the hedgehogs are quite cute. Otters, I don't know if they're 90 cute, but it looks like they've decided this is what it are the scores here. And look, I feel we can be happy enough with that. What's the 95 there? The peregrine falcon is got very fast. Okay, so let's go with that. Now, the next thing we need to do is, I think it's time now to generate the code. And what we'll have is image placeholders. And we could try and get the images, but I'm going to come to that later. I'm going to say thank you. Or I could say thank you. There's people say don't say thank you to ChatGPT. I don't know, it's an Irish thing maybe. Thank you. Now it's time to generate the cards. We can have image placeholder for the moment. So the card will have the name of the animal on top, the image placeholder, followed by the category and their respective scores. And I might just remind it, remember, this is using HTML, CSS, and maybe JavaScript. Okay, so this is where the code is going to go. All right, let's get coding, it says. So as you can see here, it's generating the code nice and quick. Most people have probably seen HTML code before, but so some of it will look fairly familiar to you. If you haven't seen HTML code, this stuff here is CSS. Often that happens in a separate file, but for the purpose of this, it's all going to be in the one place. Again, you don't need to know anything about it. You just need to see it. This is the body of it. So we have everything in all the animals here, who they are and what they look like, their name, their speed, their strength, their intelligence. That's all in a nice list. You've got your categories. You can read this in a way. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy the text here. So I've copied it, and then I'm going to go to my HTML editor, and that is here. And I'm going to paste that code simply in here. And the next thing, I go to my folder where I have that stored, and I just double click on it. And what it's got there already is fairly ugly looking name at the top. It has the image placeholder, which is good. We've got our speed, strength, intelligence, and cuteness. But as you can see, look, that isn't a bad start in my view. I think we can be quite happy with the way that looks. So next we're going to see if we can find the images that we're looking for. And this is a matter of using a search engine of public domain images, and the one that doesn't require something called an API, which just complicates things. Now you can go down that road if you want to and get ChatGPT to help you, and you'll probably actually have more success with it. This is the high risk version with the least amount of effort, but we'll probably end up making more effort. And what we're going to do is we are going to ask ChatGPT to search Wikimedia Commons for the animals, and let's see how it goes. So let's generate, can you generate the image URLs? You don't have to, you can images for the animals and update the HTML. I'm sorry, update the code. So again, let's generate the image in Wikimedia Commons for the animals and update the code. So let's see what it's going to say here. Now, the likelihood is this is going to generate a complete disaster. I think if we had simpler responses, I did this with flags in the course, and it was able to show almost all the flags, and we had a little bit of editing to do. But this is Irish animals. I'm regretting that now. I have a feeling that none of them will show up. But look, we'll give it a go, and let's see what happens. So I have everything there. Again, this is, if you look at the code, this is what it's guessing is the code. So it does look very impressive, doesn't it? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come to anything with fruition. I'll go back to my code and refresh. And as you can see, yeah, it isn't showing any of the animals here. I don't think this is a single one that it's discovered. Now, as I said, it's high risk with low results. And in my example here, it looks like I'm going to end up having to put all of the images in. I could use an API, but they cost money 99% of the time. And in some ways, this is, despite being a bit annoying, is a little bit easier. And I'm going to show you how to do the first one or two, and we can take it from there. So if we go back to our code, this is where I'm going to actually look at code. You can see very clearly here that this image, we can copy it. If we copy it, we can go back to the web and see what it looked for. So it doesn't know this file. This is the file it tried to get. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Wikimedia Commons. So I just Google Wikimedia Commons. And what I'm going to do is essentially search for what I'm looking for. And all I'm going to do is just replace what it said here, which was wrong, with the right one. So what we'll do is we'll search for a red fox. We might just type in Ireland now that we're actually searching for it. And here we have a red fox picture. Click on it, click on the link here, and again, click on it. It's, as I said, it takes a little bit of time. I'm copying the URL, and we'll just show you what happens for the first one so you can see what happens after that. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Now, if I go back to my page here and I refresh, what we'll see at the top is we do get the picture. So it does work. So what I'll do is I'll finish the rest of these. I might do one more with you, actually, an Irish hare. So let's go back, search here, Irish hare. Do a search. Here it is. There's one, maybe that one. I don't know. We can pick whichever. I suppose the flexibility here is you can pick whichever one you want. A female Irish mountain hare. So here it is. We copy the link. We go back to our code. We come here. Simple as this. Just make sure you get everything in between the colons. Here it is. Save. Go back to our website again and refresh, and you'll see the Irish hare is there. So I'm going to go and do the other 30. Oh no, the other 34. But this is programming for you. It is something, if you had picked an easier topic, you might have only had to do 2 or 3 like I did in the course with flags. As I said, you can, if you have a pro license, or you actually can use any AI generator and generate your own images. That's all possible too. But anyway, I'll be back to you in a while, whenever that will be, and you can do so too. See you in a bit. And finally, I have the last guy, the toad, which I'll copy the link, and in it goes to the code here. With that done, let's see what that all looks like. And as you can see, all of those images are now finding their way onto the page. And as you can see, we now have rows and rows of cards, which we can work with. We have our cover, which hasn't been done. We have our games rules. We have our about animals, and we have a spare card here, which we'll have a look at later. But I think what we need to do is make these cards look nice. So back we go to ChatGPT, and what we're going to do is we're going to say to ChatGPT, I have now generated all the images I want to copy. So this is what I want to put this into memory, the code, the updated code into, I want to copy it into your system so you have the correct links, because right now it still has the links from before. So hopefully it will say to me here, hopefully it'll say to me here that it wants me to copy the code in. Yep, so please update your code. So I'm just going to copy all my code here. And that's all I'm going to do now. So what's it going to tell me to do next? So it has everything there. So it's just essentially copying what it has there right at the moment. Okay, so it is ready for the next bit. And now we're going to actually make the cards look nice. So now we're going to make the cards look nice. I need the cards to be on a landscape A4 page with 8 cards per page. And I'll say 4 by 2, so 4 by 2. The cards should have a rounded black border, just to see what that looks like. All the data must fit on each card. All the data of each animal must fit on each card. So let's see what that does. So again, I'm just using my version of English language, so I'm not sure how that's going to look. So it's going to generate the code again. So that is what it has come up with, which looks amazing, doesn't it? It's only generated 8 of the images. So back we go to ChatGPT and we say, you only generated 8 cards. They look good, but I need all 40 cards generated. So let's see what it does next. Okay, so I'm going to copy that as before. Back we go. Paste, save, back we go. Refresh. Now, here we go. So we have all the cards, except for we don't have all the cards because it somehow has managed to forget the names or the links that we had before. So we're going to have to fix that. That's okay. We can do that. We can always undo. And I think this is what we might do instead. What we'll do is we'll undo, so we get to the part where we had all of the files, copy them all here, because I have a feeling it's going to forget it another time. And what I'll do is I'll just create a new file here and we'll just call it images. It doesn't have to be anything really. It's just a place to save those because I don't want to lose them. And then we'll come back here and we will redo. So back to where we are. And as I said, they messed up these things. So back we go to the images and into the top trumps, pop them in here. Sometimes, as I said, ChatGPT can be a bit infuriating in that respect, but it's good to know these things as I do them. Now here they all are. They're all back. Okay, so we have all of our images. They look really nice. The only thing we don't have is we do not have our cover. So we have nothing on the cover. We do have the game rules. We do have about animals and we have that spare card. I don't know. We could put something on the spare card, I guess. But let's concentrate on the cover because we don't have a picture there or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to say I want to update you with the code, and then I want you to update the code where the cover image will have a title of Irish Animals Battle, and the rest of the, sorry, where the cover card and the rest of the card will be filled with an already existing image. Okay, so I'm going to paste the code. So here's the code as it is. And let's see what it produces. It's going to take a little bit of time as usual to do that. So it's hopefully going to take in the entire code, and I'm not going to have to copy and paste the pictures in again. So it is saying here that it's copy and paste this snippet into your HTML file, replacing the existing create cover card function. Okay, so it's only giving me a little tiny bit here. So it's the function create cover card. So I'm going to copy that and back here, and let's see if I can find create cover card. By coincidence, it's just there now. It's somewhere, if you're following along, it's somewhere near the end, very near the end there. Create cover card. Here it is. And I will paste it there. Okay, gosh, there's a good bit there. So we'll save that and go back here and see what that now looks like. Irish Animal Battle. We can see Irish Animal Battle and we can see the picture there. Okay, that's not exactly as I wanted it, but it'll do for now. I think I could ask ChatGPT to make the picture a square shape, but I don't know if I will. I think I'm happy enough with that for now. Other things I could do, the game rules I could change, and you could do that simply yourself. Whereas a create the rules card, it's all there. You can just fix that to whatever you want, just change those. You've got the create blurb card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that. It's about animals. This is a selection of animals found in Ireland. Each card is stored in strength, intelligence, and cuteness. And this is the spare card. I'm not sure I like the spare card. And what I might do is copy this bit from the blurb card and paste it here. And what I'm going to do is say something like fun fact. And I'm going to ask for a fun fact. Give me a fun fact about one of the animals, and see what it says. This is just when you can mess around with the code a little bit. Here's a fun fact about a red fox. So let's go with fun fact. So here's a fun fact about a red fox, and red fox, blah, 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 blah. So throw that in here with the code, and you can see how easy it is, really. Coding in HTML doesn't take a lot of effort. I think anyone might be able to see that and do that and know what that is. So let's have a look at now what our top trumps look like. Here's a fun fact about a red fox. There it is. About animals. There you go. We have all the rules there. Now there's loads of things I can do here. For example, I could make, and I've done this, and I've in the course, which you can access, you can go to move the speed to here and the number here. You can change the fonts. You can change the size of the images. And the last thing really is to print it. I'm going to use Google's print here to Control P. It's got the 5 pages as I would have liked it to have been. It's in portrait mode here, but hopefully if I change it to landscape, it will. Let's see what it's going to come out like. And finally, here it is, your top trump cards. I think they look pretty good. I'd be pretty pleased with those. And then you can just simply print them, laminate them, cut them up, and you have a top trumps card. Simple as that. I know it took a little while, but I think the reason I have it like this is so you can see the problems that can happen. It isn't all straightforward. I think some people use ChatGPT thinking things will work straight away. As you've seen at almost every juncture, there's been problems. And a lot of what you do in AI and in ChatGPT is you find the problem, you tell them what the problem is, and then you go back to it. But you always have to, as you can see, I had to look into the code a little bit. There was that major issue that it couldn't find any of the images, and that took quite some time to fix. But overall, that entire project to create top trumps was probably and definitely, I would say, easier and quicker than when I was a kid cutting up cardboard and coloring things in markers. And it looks a hell of a lot better. And I think you'll agree that if you're doing something in your class, there's a huge amount that you can do here. Some ideas for you, just in case you're thinking, what could I do here? For example, here's possibly a good idea for you. You could do all these in Irish, so they learn the names of the animals in Irish. You could, if you want to integrate some maths into it, instead of having 60 there, maybe do 12 multiplied by 5 or 100 take away 40. So they actually have to solve the maths problem to find out what the numbers are. That's two kind of nice and easy samples. Of course, you can have as many cards as you want. You can have as few cards as you want. And I think the fun of it really is in the playing in a way and the idea of all the pair work that goes on as well that happens when you're doing that. Even going back to your cardboard, get the children to make their own cards to extend this activity maybe and see what they could do there. All right, I hope that is going to be a nice accompaniment to you for the course. It really shows the nitty gritty of it. It's quite detailed. It goes into all the problems that can happen. And because uh, I watch a lot of these videos on AI, and it's almost frustrating to see that every time they do something, it all works perfectly. And this is a sort of unedited, it's edited a bit to speed it up. Otherwise, a lot of this video of me just sitting here waiting, drinking tea. But other than that, it is showing you all the things that can go right and all the things that can go wrong. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As I said, the link to the course is below, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. All the best. Bye bye.